How's it going, Yankee fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Nick Nielsen. And today we want to discuss the starting pitching rotation. Is it a priority for them to address the rotation at the deadline? Maybe, maybe not. So you got Domingo German coming back from injury. He's with Scranton, pitched, I think, 4 scoreless innings yesterday. Looks pretty good. I think the Yankees want to utilize him in probably a myriad of different ways, whether it be a middle inning reliever, or really just a fatigue-based kind of spot starter to help give these guys some rest. But the starting rotation has been pretty bad lately. Aside from Nestor Cortez getting that all-star, really, really happy for him. Well-deserved. They have really hit a wall. They've hit a wall at the end of the day. Jameson Taillon has been really bad. Just absolutely really. Even Aaron Boone, they asked him yesterday, they were like, so what's going on with him? He's like, he's making mistakes and they're just hitting homers off of him. The mistakes aren't like a bloop single to right field. They're just launching homers.
No, he also just throws them down the middle. I mean, even
too.
Monty in his start, he had the same problem where it's like, why are we throwing a fastball down the middle or hanging a slider down the middle? What is going on here? So Taillon he's been in a real kind of rough skid here these past 6 or so starts. So I think the Yankees just need reinforcements. It's good to have depth, and starting pitching wins games. I mean, it wins World Series.
That's fact. So let's discuss each starter, one by one, and then we'll kind of give an idea of what we assume their future will look like the rest of the season. So we'll just kind of give a little prediction before the All-Star break here. So we'll look at Jameson Taillon first because he's on our minds, unfortunately. So on the season, Taillon now is the only Yankee starter to have a ERA above 4. So he has a 4.01 ERA, 3.75 xFIP, 94 innings pitched this year, 7.35 strikeouts per 9. Never been a strikeout pitcher, but he's giving up 1.24 home runs per 9, the second highest mark in his career, just behind last season. A 40.3% ground ball rate, 75.4% left on base rate. All respectable numbers, nothing out of the ordinary there.
Yeah.
His velocity averaging out at 94 miles an hour with his fastball, which is down from 95 back in 2018 before the Tommy John surgery started to really hit home. And when you're looking at him, he definitely looked good at the beginning of the season, was pretty lights out, generated a lot of weak contact.
Oh, yeah,
now with his right, and now his location has just fallen off. He's throwing meatballs. He's throwing right down the middle. He's not getting that. He's not getting guys to chase. He's throwing strikes and he's throwing them right down the freaking gutter for guys to just launch them over the moon. And the Yankees are now suffering because of it. Over the last couple of performances, specifically in July, we'll look at July 1st. 10 innings, 10.1 innings pitched. He's given up 13 hits and 11 earned runs. So he's giving up an average of more than a run per inning, 5 homers. He struck out 8 batters. So, they've scored more runs than strikeouts against him. He almost has given up more home runs than strikeouts this month.
Yeah, it's been ugly to say the least.
Very ugly. Last month was not much better. 4.59 ERA, gave up 40 hits and 17 earned runs over 33 innings. He's almost matched those earned runs number in a third of the time. So what is your impression of him? What is going on? These guys giving up 11 runs in his last 2 starts. Not good.
I honestly don't know. It entirely comes down to it's got to be confidence and control. And it's not like Jameson Taillon's sporadic and throwing wild. He's the complete opposite of Aroldis Chapman, where his problem is that he doesn't know when to nibble and he doesn't know how to locate as well right now, it seems. But he's throwing everything down the middle. Yesterday, he gave up 6 runs and they were all just torched off the bat. Christian Vazquez looked like he was a 10-WAR player against him yesterday. And again, Vazquez isn't a bad catcher, don't get me wrong. But come on. You gave him 2 meatballs and he slammed a home run and a double off you. Come on, dude. And it's just, again, with the starting pitching right now, I feel confident in it because it's a great rotation, don't get me wrong. And the fact that Jameson Taillon's our worst guy is nice. It's very nice. I mean, there are a lot of teams that have JMO as their 2 or their 3. But the rest of the rotation, if everyone else was on, I'd be okay with JMO struggling. But people aren't entirely on right now. Again, Cole pitched great to the Red Sox minus Devers. Nestor honestly has had a pretty good little stretch, even though he hasn't been going 7-8 innings like we were kind of seeing at the beginning of the year. He's still been pretty good. But the Yankees need to look at other options because Severino is going to be kind of put on an innings count here soon, as is Nestor Cortez. And honestly, I expect them to do the same for JMO, especially given his last couple of starts. I mean, you're talking about it. The dude's given up runs left and right and hard contact at an alarming rate over his past 5 or 6 starts. It's been June and July that JMO's been struggling. So the Yankees have been linked to Luis Castillo, linked to Frankie Montas, all sorts of guys. And if they really are truly serious about going for it all this year, they need to get one of them. Like it's priority numero uno, maybe numero dos if you are like me and you believe that shortstop's the bigger deal. But starting pitching depth and experience in the postseason and being able to stretch out your starters at the end of the regular season when you're comfortably ahead is huge.
Yeah, you can say that again, right? And like, when you have that ability to rest your starters, it definitely pays off down the road. Hopefully, Jermon can come in here and really offer them a little bit of, I guess, fatigue mitigation.
I have
But
no hopes for him.
yeah, I mean, look, he's looking good so far in his rehab assignments.
Sure.
But again, like, we got to see a good sample size before I'm like, we can commit to him. I'd rather throw JP Sears out there.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. But
that's
either
my
one,
opinion.
I don't think either one's going to be on the October roster.
Oh,
So
no,
it's
no, no,
like
no,
at the
no.
end of the day, it's like if we're trying to get like a guy to come in and mitigate and get innings to get us through the season, then yeah, Castillo's the guy we should go get. Absolutely. Like there are a couple of options that I've been like looking at that are out there that the Yankees could definitely pursue or ask about.
I
But
like Scott Barlow in
yeah,
in
he's
a
really good
package
too.
with Benintendi. If you went Benintendi Barlow, you get a good reliever and you get your outfield supplement, and you probably don't have to give up any of your top prospects. Honestly, if the Yankees wanted to just go in hard, they could probably get Castillo, Barlow, and Benintendi and give up only Peraza.
Yeah, and they could probably
and a couple of
they could probably get a
middle
shortstop
prospects.
too. They could probably get
Yeah,
a shortstop. Like that's the other thing. The Yankees team, if we do see a trade break, let's say Castillo is the first trade the Yankees make, and they do end up doing what a lot of people are imagining they will. And they trade away Oswald Peraza for Luis Castillo. There may be other players involved, whatever. That means that the Yankees are now going to be in the market for a shortstop because there's no way in hell that IKF can be on this team starting every day in October. And the problem with that is that Gleyber Torres can't play shortstop. So we only really have one shortstop on the roster.
Matt Carpenter, baby.
I mean, we've talked about it. We've joked about it. But at this point, what can't this guy do? Reach base 4 times again. Like the guy is just a god. Like it sucks we have an off day today because like I just want to see him keep hitting.
It's old man power.
Like the Yankees can go make moves, and Castillo I think would be the best move to make because getting Castillo would immediately have your 1, 2, 3 for the postseason and for the rest of the season solved. And Castillo's having his second best season in his career. So it's like I do have a little bit of worries with him because last season he did kind of struggle with his velocity and his control a little bit, and he has had some injury issues. But I never like to hold injuries against a player because at the end of the day, some guys have different types of injuries that last longer, and it looks like they've been injury prone. I mean, look at what happened with Judge and Stanton. Everyone thinks these two are made of glass, even though Judge this year has missed like 3 games. But with Castillo, I feel like he'd provide that stability, provide that elite front end ace that you want, and could allow you to pitch Nestor a little bit less, pitch JMO a little bit less, pitch Severino a little bit less. And that'd go miles for this team. Like even look at his teammate Tyler Mahle if you want someone. He's a really good pitcher as well, and his peripherals have been unkind to him because he's been kind of getting hit around with a lot of unfortunate batted ball luck. But yeah, those 2 guys are just 2 options on the market from the Reds. I mean, the Yankees, they can improve this team in so many ways, and starting pitching is the first domino to fall.
Yeah, a lot of people keep saying to me, the team is so good, we don't need to make any moves like this and this and that. And I'm like, look, I disagree with that wholeheartedly because we haven't been to a World Series in 10 years, and you can always be better, right? There are weaknesses on this team. The Yankees have so many impactful players that it hides a lot of those deficiencies. Like you have Aaron Judges of the world, who arguably is the best player in baseball. You can make a good argument this year. He is. You got the Garrett Coles. You got, Josh Donaldson who's playing well. Matt Carpenter's like Rizzo's having a hell of a year.
Hicks has turned it on this month.
Hicks, Jose Trevino. Nobody saw this coming. Like there are guys on this team that are carrying a lot of weight on their shoulders and making a lot of other players look better because of it.
Yes.
And I will assure you that this team we're starting to see some fatigue related weaknesses and adversity, and we need to address those before it gets to become a bigger problem. And that leads me to my next guy, Nestor Cortez, right? Nestor Cortez is a guy who we all love, 27 years old, but the guy's never pitched more than 66 innings in his career until last season, right? He had 1 season throwing 66.2 innings in 2019. He threw 7.2 innings in 2020 and 93 last year. He's already had 88.2 innings this season before the All-Star break. His arm has never been through this type of stress before. No. It takes years of consistently throwing over 90, 100 innings every single season to understand what it takes and the proper ways to keep your arm healthy before you can rely on it for that long. Like Garrett Cole's been doing it for 6, 7, 8 years, right?
Absolutely.
That's why you can commit to him.
Same with
And
Scherzer. There's a reason these guys are
Scherzer,
so good as
DeGrom,
established as they are. Like, but even look at what happened with DeGrom.
right?
DeGrom's
Injury.
arm has been falling
Noodle.
apart the last few seasons, and yet when he pitches, there's
Right.
no one better, like at all. In my opinion, it's not even close. But the Yankees, their rotation right now, yes, Nestor's a big one because he hasn't pitched, like you said, as a true starting pitcher, like really ever in his career. So the fact that he's on pace this season for like 160, 150 innings is completely foreign territory to him in the Yankees. So I think he's definitely up for the task, and he may see 150 innings as the season kind of goes on. But the Yankees definitely want to keep him fresh and not get him in a situation where it's like, all right, Nestor, you've pitched now 130 innings, and the last 3 starts have been a bit rough because we can tell the innings are catching up to you. So just going to get any starting pitcher on the market would immediately help that. And like there are guys out there that you can go get that are a lot better than Herman, that are better than JP Sears, that you could honestly probably just trade JP Sears straight across for. Like look at the Giants. The Giants right now are not that great of a team. They have some heroics, sure, and they've got some really good players. But if you look at the NL West, it is a death match over there right now. And the Padres and Dodgers, in my opinion, seem like they're just going to kind of continue to pull away. So maybe you ask about the very unlikely option in Carlos Rodon, who's been elite, or the much more likely option in Alex Wood. Either one of those guys would fill in fantastically in this rotation, and both guys have playoff experience. Granted, Wood has more because he pitched for the Dodgers, so it's like that kind of doesn't count. But like even the Dodgers kind of transitioning here, perfect example. When the Dodgers went all in to get their ring, granted it was the Mickey Mouse ring, they went all in. They got Max Scherzer, they got Trey Turner. This team, the Yankees, they cannot expect to win a World Series and run out.
They got to go all
IKF.
in.
They got to go all in. And like if they get a shortstop, great. If they call up Peraza, great. Either one of those is a better option than IKF. And then if they get a starting pitcher or 2, and then Benintendi or something, this team is literally going to be like minus 300 favorites to win the World Series, which is just insane.
Yeah, so, I'll throw this out there. This might be a hot take. Let me know what your perspective is on this idea. Honestly, it makes sense in my head, but call me an idiot if it doesn't make any sense. Nestor Cortez needs to rest at times during the stretch. They need to find ways to keep him fresh during the second half of this season because the fatigue, you can tell it's setting in. That the pitches aren't getting as much movement. His location's been a little bit off at times. Yeah.
He's only going 5-6 innings now.
Right. So they have to figure out ways. Like I'll give you an idea. Like last month, he gave up 4 earned runs in 2 of his 5 appearances. He gave up 4 earned runs against Boston on Friday, 2 homers. He's given up, in fact, over his last 4 outings, he's given up 4, 5, 6, 7 home runs in his last 4 games, which is
because he's hanging everything. Like you said, he's missing his spots. His cutter also isn't breaking as much as it is. And there was, I think Ryan brought it up, where he needs a pitch to like kind of move more in on righties because his fastball, he always likes to go away against righties. And when he goes inside, they just torch it. And when he misses going inside, it's just over the middle of the plate. So I do think I'm not like worried about Nestor because all of his mechanics and everything still looks great. But the one thing I am worried about is it's only the innings. Like I don't want to have a situation here where Nestor is one of our biggest weapons and is pitching well come mid to end of August. And then all of a sudden he has dead arm like Ron Marinaccio did. And it's like, well, this is the worst possible time for him to have gotten dead arm. Maybe if we had another starter, this wouldn't have happened. Like, that's why the Yankees cannot – I'd much rather them overpay and have another Sonny Gray incident than for them to do nothing and then have our starting pitching.
At least they try.
Exactly.
Try. Okay, so here's my hot take, though. Here's my hot take.
So.
I didn't even get to unravel that one for you. So my idea here is this. There should be a point in the season where the Yankees say, okay, you know what, Nestor, he's degrading quickly, right? We know he's not used to pitching this much. What if they did something like this? They went out and got a Castillo, or they have a Herman or a JP Sears, and they say, you know what, Nestor, we're going to give you a month where you don't start, but instead we're going to use you as a bullpen arm. We're going to take you in. We're going to give you an inning, 2 innings every now and then. When we need you, that way you don't have to go out and pitch 6 innings in one clip, but we can still utilize your value and maximize the good innings that you have without overdoing it. I know like every 5 days he's starting, right?
Yeah.
What if they just were like, this month we have such a big lead. We want you to be fresh down the stretch. let's take you and just put you in a bullpen role where you can be in those high leverage situations or like, coming right, like relief of your starting pitcher, and just mitigate that fatigue for a little while to get him back to where you need him to finish off this season. And maybe even he rolls into the postseason on a high note. It's an interesting theory and idea, but I just wanted to present it to see what you thought.
I like that. No, I think it's a great idea because, I mean, at the end of the day, I think I love Nestor and he's been so good. And I think that his stuff in a bullpen role would just be elevated because they won't be able to like know what's coming and he won't have to face the order 3, sometimes 4 times if he's pitching really well. But with Nestor, the only worry I have about putting him in a bullpen role and then having him come back is that it's just a complete change in preparation and mentality. And with Nestor, he already kind of runs with 4 pitches. So he has the arsenal to be a starter. So I guess to counter, I would recommend you just do piggybacking with Nestor. So you give Nestor like kind of like an opener start where it's like you only let him pitch 3 innings. And you're like, Nestor, I know you pitched well, but you're at 55 pitches and it's early September. Go ahead and take a seat. We got expanded rosters. You don't need to stress anymore. So I can see that being a thing. And then I can also see them doing maybe not every 5 days, every 7, 8 days you're starting, because that would also help mitigate the innings and the miles on the arm. Because Nestor, I think in the postseason is when he's going to be best suited as a bullpen arm. Because if you put him in the bullpen and you're running a 3-man rotation of say Cole, Severino, and Luis Castillo, how are you going to be able to plan for Nestor Cortez coming out of the bullpen? Like he's one of the most shifty and difficult pitchers to face as a batter from either side of the plate because of his delivery, because of his whine, because of his quirkiness, and because he just has wicked good stuff with movement. So I think using that in the postseason as a bullpen role would be great. Maybe even at the end of the season, put him in the bullpen. So that way you just kind of keep his arm. But I don't know if they would want to put him in the bullpen now or like at the like next month or something, unless they went out and got a starter or 2. And that's the other thing. The Yankees could get 2 starters. Like they could go get Castillo and go get Montas for all I know. Like who knows what Brian Cashman's cooking up right now. I mean, one guy that I love that's complete pipe dream, that's never going to happen. But there's that small sliver. It's like the Jim Carrey meme. So you tell me there's a chance. Is Sandy Alcantara. The Marlins are in no place to win. They have less than a 10%, I believe, less than 12% percent chance to make the playoffs, according to Fangraphs. And they're in no place to even compete for a wild card spot at this point. There are 3 teams in their division that are far better than them. So maybe the Marlins are looking to move Alcantara. However, maybe they're looking to move Jazz. I don't know. But if you could look for like and get Alcantara as a no shot, but if they got Alcantara, this team could be the greatest baseball team we've ever seen. And that's just on the Yankees side. They just have to be willing to make the moves. That's all it comes down to. Like when the Dodgers got Scherzer and Trey Turner, people are like, no way. And they gave up Keibert Ruiz and Josiah Gray. Like that. Come on. The Yankees could easily do that.
Yeah, they could. But let's move over to Luis Severino, a guy who I actually think is probably having one of the better years of any starter in this rotation. 3.11 ERA. In June was solid. 3.3 ERA, gave up 11 runs and 19 hits over 30 innings, struck out 40 batters and walked 10. This in July so far, he only has 1 appearance against Pittsburgh in the 16-0 rout. Gave up 4 hits, 0 earned runs over 6 innings. Looked really, really good. Forced 10 ground balls, 3 strikeouts, didn't walk a batter. He's been solid. Overall, very, very impressed with Luis Severino making this comeback. I think that he is ramping up instead of ramping down. After May, he actually has been getting better. So I'm actually very impressed with Severino. I think, maybe he'll start to hit a wall later on, but he has today off. I think he pitches tomorrow. Am I mistaken?
I believe so. Yeah, I think he'll pitch
So he pitches tomorrow against the Reds. We're going to get a good look at Castillo. So I think that that'll be fun for the Yankees to see what he's got. And then, Severino's been pretty consistent. I'm happy with what he's done this year. Still got it. He's finally back up to double digits in the strikeout rate. So 10 strikeouts per 9. Pretty solid. Giving up some homers a little bit every now and then, but still nothing to be concerned about. 80% left on base rate, 42.5% ground ball rate. The best since 2017. He looks good, man. I'm impressed with Severino. Feel like he's one of our more consistent options. He's getting better while some other guys are getting worse. What are you feeling about him?
I mean, he's got the 3rd highest left on base percentage on the team right now, only behind Garrett Cole and Nestor Cortez. And a lot of people are very clearly Cole and Cortez are our best 2 pitchers. So the fact that Severino's right up there with those guys, additionally over 80%, is a great sign for him this year. Like, he's not really getting knocked around when there are when there are guys on base. That's the one thing I have noticed about Severino this year, is that we love to toss this around all season long. This team doesn't quit. They're resilient. But with Luis Severino, he's truly a warrior on the mound. Like, this kid was drafted by the Yankees, homegrown product, and he's just panned out and then some. And this season, there are a lot of doubts about Severino because he hadn't pitched in a while. And last year when he did pitch, he pitched very minimally in the bullpen. But now you're seeing this guy is ace material. And you see why the Yankees extended him a couple years ago and why they probably want to keep him around in the future. He's answered the call and then some. Like, the fact that Severino already has, I believe, 85 innings under his belt this season is huge. However, same discussion for Severino as we had with Nestor, is that Severino, granted, it's not like Nestor where he's never pitched those innings. He just hasn't pitched those innings in 3 years. And it's not because it's like he hasn't gotten close to it, it's because he's been injured. So it's like, is Severino 100% back and ready to pitch 170 innings this year? I don't know. And it's just, even if he doesn't, his value has been, like, I can't even put like a number on it. Like, what Severino's been able to do for this rotation in a year where there's already a lot of question marks about him and the rotation has been like the cherry on top. Like, everyone talks about Nestor's success with Matt Blake, Clay Holmes' success with Matt Blake, Michael King, but Severino has really, really taken in with Matt Blake and thrown his cutter more, thrown his changeup more, now has disgusting breaking stuff, and just has a much better feel of how to pitch to batters than he did a couple years ago. So I don't know. Severino, in my opinion, has been basically online right now with kind of Cole. And that's crazy for me to say because Cole has like the innings, has the ability to pitch 7-8 innings, even when giving up 5 runs. But I just feel so comfortable now watching Luis Severino pitch.
Yeah, I mean, his pitches specifically are doing much better than they were, in those kind of injury-riddled seasons. His four-seam fastball, hitters are hitting 200 against it, change up 247, but his slider, man, want to hear an interesting stat? So four-seam fastball, he's throwing at 48% this year. 48% of his pitches are his four-seam fastball. His slider is only being thrown 20%. But the most interesting stat is that he's generated 37 strikeouts with his slider and only 24 with his fastball and 24 with his changeup. So he's throwing that slider probably more than any other pitch.
Yeah, that's his out pitch.
When he has 2 strikes. That's his strikeout pitch. And it's dangerous, man. He has a very good slider. Opposing hitters are hitting 164 against it with a 288 slugging, a 41.7% whiff rate. They're really, really having trouble hitting that slider, and he's using it at the perfect time. So you love to see that. Only 9 degrees of launch angle. Even when they do hit it, it's mostly just ground balls. So that's really good to see. His slider's back. His fastball, the velocity is solid at 96 miles an hour. He's getting good movement on his pitches. He's getting better instead of worse, and I think that's something to note, which is pretty great for him.
He's kind of the opposite of J-Mo right now. Like Sevy,
exactly.
I will say it's not like Sevy started off slow because he honestly kind of exceeded expectations for what I wasn't even really expecting to see him pitch for like the month of May that much.
He wasn't bad in April.
He was really like April and May. I wasn't expecting to see a lot of Severino, especially with everything around spring training. I was like, who knows? Maybe they use him as a bullpen guy because he hasn't pitched in like 2 years, like fully. And then no, he's just kind of been thrust into it and just surviving and thriving and surviving, baby. Like without Severino, this rotation would honestly be, I'm not going to say he's the centerpiece of the rotation, but Severino does hold this rotation together because he's that middle guy that helps bridge you between if Monty or Taillon have a rough 5-inning start, and then your hope between Cortez and Cole going 7 innings. Severino's right in that middle where it's like Severino, you're going to get 6 innings out of the guy. And that's what he's done this season. So I'm very impressed with him. I'm honestly more impressed with Severino than Cole.
Well, just given the expected it from Cole.
Yeah, and expectations.
Expect it from Cole, you know what I mean?
And Severino, like I had a hot take saying he could start game 1 of the ALDS. And then I had to back it up with Gabe. I was like, well, if it's Boston and it's Eovaldi and Sale, wouldn't you want to do Severino and Cole? But the thing is that the fact that I'm even discussing him starting in the ALDS as game 1 or game 2 starter shows how good he's been this season.
Look, man, if you have Chris Sale on the mound, just put a TV in the batter's box and watch him go to just destroy it.
Yeah, dude, make sure it's not a Samsung either. Make that shit like a Lenovo or like an LG, and he'll be like, "What the hell is this? I asked for a Samsung endorsement."
But yeah, you definitely don't want Chris Sale and a TV in the same room. Not a good look for TVs across the world. But I'll tell you what.
Sorry, yeah, continue.
No, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say
Severino. One point on Severino that I was thinking of, kind of raising your Nestor point. How would you feel about them doing that with Severino? Because he already has experience in the bullpen. Like them saying, all right, Louis, for September, you're going to be used as a bullpen guy. And we're going to use you sometimes 2, 3, 4 innings.
I think that it depends how Nestor and JMO finish the season, and Jordan Montgomery. Like if Severino's gonna, if the 3-man rotation is gonna be Cole, Castillo, and Severino, then obviously, like I would say he should be the starter.
Yeah,
But if they're like what, maybe they'll roll with odd hand or whatever it might be, maybe matchup based. Maybe they're like, okay, we have a lot of lefties in the lineup. Nestor should be that guy, or whatever it might be. But if they were like in that spot that Severino wasn't going to be in that 3-man rotation or wasn't starting, I could totally see them using that's what they should do though, for the record.
Because he was really good in the minimal time he had in the bullpen last
against
year.
Boston. He looked good last year in that wild card game.
Elite in the bullpen. Like he's got wicked stuff. I was talking about how Nestor's stuff would be really good in the bullpen and would play up, but Severino would legitimately be like Betances on steroids.
Yeah. But looking at the next guy here, Jordan Montgomery, another guy who's really kind of taking a step forward this season, looking pretty solid, 3.19 ERA, over 96 innings. So he's getting a lot of action as well. Pitched 157 last year, so he's got some experience with a bigger workload.
Yeah.
About an 80% left on base rate, 48% ground ball rate. Strikeouts are a bit down. Home runs, though, he's not giving up many at all. So pretty solid. I think that he's been a pretty reliable pitcher for this Yankee team. So far, you're looking at his pitch repertoire, features a fastball, cutter, curveball, and changeup, really getting that cutter a little bit more involved at 7.1% this year. Also has a pretty solid sinker, throwing at 38%, the most in his career. Obviously, the Matt Blake effect and on full display across the pitching, starting rotation and bullpen. Velocity, 92.7 miles an hour. That's actually the highest in his career, so he's getting that a little bit more velocity behind it, and then curveball solid. That's always been a consistent pitch for him. So overall, nothing out of the ordinary. Cutter a little bit more, sinker definitely high usage there. But his last couple outings have been, pretty solid. I mean, in July, he's given up 3 runs in 10 innings. That's totally fine. But June was okay. 3.66 ERA, gave up 9 earned runs over his last 2 starts against Tampa, and then Oakland, he got kind of crushed. But he's still generating a ton of ground balls. He's a weak contact pitcher. Doesn't give up many home runs at all. But I think that overall I've been pretty impressed with Jordan Montgomery this season.
Oh, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Like, I honestly don't even know what more I could say about JMO. The dude, however, on the one thing I guess I could add is that he's only walking 4.7% of batters. Like, it doesn't really give away any freebies when he pitches. The problem, the flip side with that is that he does give up some home runs, and a lot of them are Montgomery meatballs, where it's like, all right, dude. But I will say, seeing him pitch with a lead this year has been a bit refreshing, even though Monty sometimes seems like he doesn't really want the team to have a lead when he's pitching. It's like he's sabotaging himself sometimes. But the other thing that I'm very impressed with Montgomery, and that a lot of Yankees fans don't seem to really give him credit for, is that he's got the second most innings pitched on this team. He's only 3 innings behind Garrett Cole for the lead. Like, he's been as reliable as they come, very consistent, very solid. And I think Monty, honestly, is in line for an extension at the end of the season. Like, I don't see how the Yankees could let him walk. He almost won Rookie of the Year when he came up. And then he got injured, and he just kind of came back and pitched well. And then now he's just pitching even better. So it's like Monty has just been building on his career and getting better each season, featuring different pitches, throwing different pitches in different sequences. And now you're seeing it all kind of put together. Like, I think he's one of the most solidified and like fantastic 3s, 4s in the league.
Yeah, I mean, look, Monty has been reliable. He's that lefty starter you need in the bullpen, along with Nestor Cortez. He's solid. I'm really happy with his performance this year. Hopefully he continues to ramp up instead of go the opposite direction like some of these guys. But Garrett Cole, another guy, started July pretty poor. His last 2 outings, Boston, Cleveland, he's given up 7 earned runs.
I mean, it was just Devers.
Innings.
It was Devers.
Yeah, just Devers just going to work. So, yeah, Devers having those 2 home runs were big. Definitely kind of put a stain on that performance against Boston. And last month he was tremendous, 2.73 ERA. But that one game against Minnesota where he gave up 7 runs in 2 innings, that was the stain, right? If you take that game out, he was elite in June.
Yeah. He's still solid. He's Garrett Cole. I mean, the guy, honestly, he's going to be our only pitcher that will have 200 innings this year. And I think that's a fact. Like,
he's given up a lot of homers, 145 over not per 9, which is like not the worst in the world. It's not that bad, but is the second highest in his career up to this point. So that's definitely not
the 17% home run to fly ball rate is also not really reassuring. Yeah. But again, that's the thing with Garrett Cole. Like, you look this season, and aside from like 2 or 3, like, how the hell did he hit that out of the parks? Like the one to Vlad that was early on in the year, and then honestly that one to Devers that was like a fastball like low and inside, and he just torched it. I was like, how the heck? But
Just good piece of hitting.
yeah, like, and that's the other thing. Like, even against I want to say the Rays when he played them, it was a lot of like, how the hell was that a home run? And Garrett Cole does kind of suffer from the bad batted ball luck. But at the same time, he's elite. Like, everyone talks about, he's making $30 million a year and he needs to do more. He needs to go out there and throw 9 innings every start. It's like, all right, first of all, A-Rod would just shoot you dead on the spot if you proposed that idea. Alex Rodriguez believes we should only have 6 pitchers on the team. But I don't think that Garrett Cole not being able to go 8, 9 innings every game and shut out every team means he's not worth the money and he's not this ace that the Yankees signed up for. The only blemish on his resume, in my opinion, is just his wild card start last year. And this year, it looks like he could just right that ship right away in the ALDS and get off to a fast start. Because the Yankees are basically locked for the playoffs. Like, there's like barring one of the most monumental collapses in history of sport, the Yankees should make the playoffs this year. And if we get to see a playoff Cole, like we saw playoff Cole with the Astros for a while, then yeah, Garrett Cole is an ace. He is the ace. He's a top 3, top 5 pitcher in the AL every year.
Yeah, and he's going to be our ace when it comes to the October and the postseason. You know, that's the guy. I guess, you know, when the season started and it was a couple weeks in, we're like, Nestor looks so good. Like, right now, if we had to choose, it would be Nestor.
Yeah.
But now with the fatigue setting in and Cole's experience, you're kind of seeing that. It definitely was a premature thought, but I will say that Cole is probably going to be that guy unless Castillo comes in and just absolutely just lights out the rest of the season. Then you know, Boone's got a tough decision to make, but I don't think it matters either way. You know, Yankees will probably have home field advantage there. You probably want Cole pitching in Yankee Stadium. With that type of energy, he breathes. He loves that energy, and he definitely capitalizes on it, guys. But I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Long episode today, giving you guys some insight into every single starting pitcher and what our projections and thoughts are about
real good
them.
Deep
but
dive, though.
a lot of good information here, guys. And if you've made it through the whole video, you've probably learned a couple things about each pitcher and what they're doing, and some interesting ideas and thoughts about how we can mitigate fatigue down the road. But at this point, I think I can pretty confidently say they have to make a move, that they're going to need another starting pitcher at the deadline, because you're seeing the degradation of some of these guys. JMO, even Monty's had a couple of tough outings. Cole has started July a little bit shaky. Nestor Cortez, definitely the fatigue is setting in. You can see it. Severino's been ramping up, which is good.
Severino's like the one that like has seen the only one.
Least, super weird,
like the least side effects. Like, even his last start, he struggled a little bit, like getting the strikeouts and swings and misses. But you said it yourself. He induced like 11 ground balls that start. So he just kind of took over the Jameson Taillon cloak of invisibility and went out there and pitched. But the fact that he's been like just ramping it up is kind of, I guess, maybe we don't need an arm if Severino's just kind of back to his full workload. I do have my hesitations about it. That's why it's like we should go get an arm. The Yankees need to get an arm. I'm just going to end it there. Yankees need to get an arm.
They do. But guys, love to hear your thoughts below in the YouTube comments. As always, my friends, appreciate all the love and support. Make sure to like, subscribe for daily content every day, deep dives, a lot of analytically driven stuff. Give you guys some more information on these players and our projections. You know, it's not going to stop here. So we got you guys covered with everything. Hopefully we see you guys in the next video. We'll catch you guys on the next one.